What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the High Tempo Sports Podcast, episode 203. Back for Week 3 fantasy football recap. Seth and Ivan are back. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Going good.
That's awesome to hear. That was the most sarcastic. Couple things I need to go over before we talk about anything fantasy football related. Damian Lillard got traded today to the Milwaukee Bucks. So if you want to listen about I wonder what the details are of that trade, I would love someone to break it down for me and talk about the implications. I did a quick 20-minute little podcast as soon as it happened. It was the most fastest I've ever been oh my God, gotta record it and talk about it. So go listen to that. It's very short. It's 20 minutes. So go ahead and listen to that. And then there was something else. Oh yeah, I'm a bit nasally right now. So sorry for my voice sounding like I'm sick, because I kind of am. So that's all I wanted to say. Then Harley's barking up there. So All right, Week 3 fantasy football. How did it go for you guys? I know once again in our league, both of you guys, I don't want to say dominated. You dominated the numbers aspect, but the matchup itself was tight. But all around, how do you guys do in fantasy this week?
Pretty good. The one league that I don't really care that much about, it's a bunch of old dads. That team is dominant.
See, that should be the team you care about, the league you care about the most.
But they
that's
don't.
Easy done.
Jameer Gibbs was the 10th man off the board.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up getting Keenan Allen in the 5th round. So
that's pretty awesome.
In the league that actually matters, I beat Chase, but it was not an easy showing. I had the Bills defense put up 31.
Crazy.
Kind of saved me there. And Devontae Adams, obviously.
Yeah. So your important leagues you won.
Yes.
Debbie League you win?
No, I lost, but I lost to Trevor.
Oh yeah, and Trevor and Joe. Do you see what Joe's final numbers were in that league? He put up 230 or 240 something.
That's just not right.
Absurd. How about you, Ivan? How'd it go?
Clean sweep for me.
Really? That is awesome. Even in the team league?
Good for you, man.
Wow. That's awesome. I went 3-3 in weeks 1 and 2. Week 3, I'm trying to do the numbers right now. I believe I lost in our league, which just sucks. I've lost 2 straight games of right down to the wire, losing it. But I won all my. I think I went 4-2. Pretty sure I went 4-2 across the board. Might have went 5-1 now that I think about it. So pretty good week. But I lose in the most important league, which sucks. And I'm starting to panic. And I have a question for you guys before we even get into any rankings or anything. I put this on the list, down the list, but I wanted to ask it right now. Do you guys think we have settled into the fantasy football season so far? And what I mean by that is are things kind of, obviously the first couple weeks are going to be whoa, what's going on? Puka Nacua, who?
Yeah.
But do you guys think we have settled into fantasy football yet, where things are kind of what you expected, or is it still going to take some time? Because week 3 was definitely the craziest week that we've had so far.
To me, I think I'm less settled now than the start, honestly. Just the top running backs, they're still the top running backs that I didn't expect to be.
Right.
I'm not comfortable, really.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of guys like Gibbs, I just don't know yet, and I wanted to know by week 3, I think. Kyron, to me, is a big one.
Yeah.
Raheem, I wasn't expecting that. And then there's guys like Derrick Henry, this week is panic button, and it wasn't until this week. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't feel settled.
Yeah, I would agree with Ivan. The one thing that I will say is there are players where I do feel more comfortable. Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, I feel are kind of returning to that normal state of these guys are matchup winners.
Right.
I think everyone kind of busted week 1 where it was is anyone that's supposed to be good gonna be good? But no, like Ivan said, the running backs still are not shaking out the way that they're supposed to. A couple of the receivers have kind of come out, but other than that, yeah, I'm not comfortable with anything right now.
Yeah, I'm right on the same page with you guys. I think that, and I really think it's going to take more than, I don't even think by next week it's going to be comfortable, because the rankings right now are still just so random, with the top 5 guys at each position and everything. So I think that by week 6, maybe, when buys start, I think buys start week 5, maybe that's when we'll start to get a general idea. I think that some guys that did have slow starts, having Jamar Chase, having a huge game, that was nice to see as a guy that went super early in the draft. But also we have to get past his first IR situation too, with guys like Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor. There's a few more that are on the IR that, once they come back and we'll see what they can do, then I think it'll be a lot easier to normalize things. But let's go over the week 3 top scores because they are pretty freaking weird. Starting off with number 1, Devon A. Chan. It's A. Chan. He wanted to make that well known to everyone that it's A. Chan and not A. Chain, which I think is funny. 51.3 points from the boy. I mean, what is that? What is that?
I have, in my top performers, I just put the Dolphins. Because, that was an explosion.
Yeah.
I don't even know kind of, how... It's really difficult to... It almost is, hard to tread water here because it's, what are they going to do next week? There's no way that the running backs both score 4 touchdowns again. Obviously, Achane needs to be picked up off waivers, but, I still don't think you start him.
Right.
I think it's still most
totally
backfield. It's just...
For him, I don't see the ceiling. It's crazy to say, but, I don't even know why you roster him.
Yeah.
Just with Jeff Wilson coming back.
That's the big part to me.
Jeff Wilson coming back, what are they going to do?
I think the only thing that warrants the roster is the history of Jeff Wilson, obviously already hurt, has been hurt the last couple of years, and Mostert has had that same issue.
Yeah. He's more of a stash.
He's a great stash.
Yes. You're never starting him.
No.
Right.
Maybe in a 14-man, if you're that desperate. But, I'm still starting, Jerome Ford, Zach Moss. I'm starting guys like that. What about, Khalil Herbert or Devon A. Chan? You have to start one of those two.
I mean, that's, the same situation because of Roschon.
Yeah.
I would probably start, I don't know.
At that one, you probably, those guys are droppable. But, yeah, I think that the big thing to me is Jeff Wilson Jr. Mike McDaniel was interviewed recently, and they asked him about Jeff Wilson, and he said that he's not a guy that believes in you just because you're injured you lose your spot. So he was being asked about him, and he basically said he's gonna play once he comes back, just because these guys went off. I don't know if this was before or after week 3, the big performance, but he essentially said week 5, expect Jeff Wilson Jr. to be used again. So I think that this even hurts Mostert. But yeah, Mostert's still obviously startable for sure.
Yeah.
Not Achane though.
Yeah, that was my thing. That performance just hurts everybody.
It does.
Just seeing him on everybody's waivers or their bench, and he would have won your week hurts. And then being a Mostert owner hurts.
Yeah.
It's just it's scary.
Because Mostert could have had 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also just creates waves Chosen Anderson, is that his name?
Yeah.
Right? Chosen Anderson had 1 reception for 46 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I think it's Robbie. I think it's he still has Robbie because on his back of his jersey it says Chosen.
Yeah,
but it was Chosen
Anderson. I think it's Chosen or Robbie Chosen.
I think it is.
This last week he did.
Last week he had 1 catch, 46
I didn't even
yards.
know he was still in the NFL.
It was when Mike White
15 points.
Mike White comes in the game after the Dolphins are up by 60 points, and Mike White's first pass is a 70-yard bomb to Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, so all I'm seeing on TikTok right now is is Robbie Chosen worth looking at?
He
not.
came in with the rest of the bench unit.
Exactly.
He definitely take Braxton Berrios
He
over
had
him.
17 points. So did everyone else that played offense in that game.
Yeah, speaking of the Dolphins, having big weeks, Mostert was the 3rd highest scorer at 45.2. And then just for fun, Tua Tagovailoa was the 2nd highest quarterback and the 10th overall player at 28.36. Wrapping out the rest of the top 5, Keenan Allen, 45.46, throwing a passing touchdown. Devontae Adams, number 4 at 42.2. And then number 5 was a guy that probably isn't rostered in an incredible amount of leagues, Adam Thielen at 31.5 points. So that wraps out the top 5. And then, like you said, the Bills defense, 31 points, coming at the number 6 slot. And Tyreek Hill was 7th. So four of the top 10 were all on the Miami Dolphins. Pretty unreal. Was there any other surprising performances that you guys were in week 3 that highlighted for you?
I think you nailed them.
Yeah, I didn't think there was too many other big ones. Before I get into the week 3 bust, though, we do need to go over our results from week 3.
Boy.
Boom or bust. So let's start out with Seth. Seth was the heater in week 1, getting 2 out of 4, almost 3 out of 4 with Jordan Addison. Seth, though, bad week. Bad week.
Got really cooled down.
Bad week in week 2. He goes 0 for 4. CeeDee Lamb, boom. He gets 6 points lower than projection. Darren Waller, boom, gets 6 points lower than projection. Joe Mixon, bust, does go 2.5 points under projection, so he was close on that one, not quite. And then James Conner, bust. Conner has a big game, has 6 points over projection. So he still sits at 2 on the season total, which isn't last place. I'll just give a quick hint. So you're not standing back. On Ivan goes 2 for 4 on the boom or bust picks, ties the record for a week. Puts him at 3 on the season. Jordan Addison, boom, did not hit. Sam Laporta, boom, though, did hit in a major way. 9-point projection, gets 22.4. Brian Robinson, bust. He nails the bust pick, 12.9 points. He only gets 7. And then Chris Olave, bust. Olave gets 3 points more than projections. So 2 more for Ivan. He is now the season leader at 3 total. And me, I was terrible in week 1. Went 0 for 4. Got to get 1 on the board at least. I did that, exactly that. I got 1 on the board. I will take it. Stephon Diggs, boom. He got about 3.5 points higher than projections, so not quite. I was close on it. But Mike Williams, boom. 13.8 projected points, gets 25. Sucks for Mike Williams, though, that it, at the cost of hitting the boom, he goes out for the year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm sure we'll touch on that later.
Yeah, we will. Garrett Wilson, bust, has just been a killer to this program so far. 4.5 points lower than projection. It was at 14.3. He got 9.8, so close. If you don't know the rules, it's got to be 5 points above or below for it to count. So that one does not count. And then James Cook, bust, at 14.5. He got 13.2. So another one that just wasn't quite there. But let's get into the week 3 bus. Seth, we need to talk about a guy that you are owner of, first of all. Probably the biggest bust of week 3. Derrick Henry, 2 points in week 3. Derrick Henry owners, should they be concerned?
Oh, this is just such a tough topic because there's so much that goes into it. I personally am not ready to hit the panic button yet. Last year, Derrick Henry also started off pretty slow into the season. Eventually, they found a groove, but some things have changed. Their offensive line, I think, is ranked 32nd. It is the absolute worst offensive line. They're banged up already. It's not looking great. And Tajay Spears is not getting very much of the carries, but he is dominating the receiving game, and they're not going to be up a lot. So I don't know how long this split is going to work between Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. Hopefully they can find a groove. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on Derrick Henry yet, but I see the validation. I can definitely see where some people would be.
Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, to me, it's just a panic. It's not because I think Derrick Henry isn't good. It's because with this new system that they're running, and he's not playing the receiving back, and he also didn't last year all the time. I don't remember the guy's name.
They had Dante Foreman, right? Or no, he was on Carolina. It was Dontrell Hilliard.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And he was the receiving back.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard to say. Henry had a couple screen passes last year, 60-yard touchdown, 40-yard touchdown. Yeah. So if he's not getting those, and the Titans are just worse all around, and they're not in the red zone, it's scary. But it's just you can't trade him. He's one of those there's no reason. Who are you going to trade him for? Right
exactly.
now?
Yeah.
Historically, we've always seen Derrick Henry too be the player where once or twice every couple weeks he'll hit the 8-yard line, past line of scrimmage, and then his speed kicks in and he just outruns defenders that kind of don't see that from him very much. But a lot of people are talking about the fact that the running backs turning 29 is a real issue, and Derrick Henry just hit, I think, his 1,800 carry mark. So there's a little what's the word I'm looking for? Precedent. To what we're seeing.
Yeah,
here.
there is.
Yeah. Also, when I watched him last year or the year before, it's the first 10 carries he legit could have 7 yards.
Yeah.
But the next 10 he could seriously have 140.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys, he needs 20 plus carries a game.
Yeah.
And that's what he should get. So if he can start hitting those numbers again, if he goes out and has 20 carries against the Bills defense and puts up 5 fantasy points, I don't care. The usage needs to get better, and then I won't be panicked.
No, I agree 100% with what you just said. Him and Nick Chubb are really similar in my eyes, where, like you said, the first couple carries he's only going to get 2. But as the game goes on, just the bigger bruising back, they eventually wear down defenses. But with the horrible offensive line they've got in front of him, I just don't know if that's going to be the case this year. So
Yeah, and we were talking about like just the usage has been weird, but like Spears only has 15 carries on the year and 7 receptions. It's the snap share. He's just out there a lot. I don't know if they trust him more as a blocker. It seems like he's been the third down back. So he's just been on the field a lot more than people expected. And you were just talking about it. Derrick Henry's got to have his carries. I'm looking at his game log right now. Like the one big game that he's had so far this year in fantasy was week 2, 25 carries. Yes, he had a touchdown and everything, but the other 2 games he had 15 carries and 11 carries. I understand that like the Browns game is a little bit different. They were just getting smacked, so like they're not going to be running the ball. But also Derrick Henry is the reason that the Titans have been a good offense for the last so many years. He's just been a dominant running back. I understand that he's getting older and aging and everything. I'm not like super panic if you're Derrick Henry owner. I think this week tells a lot.
yes,
I think that depending on what happens this week, who do they play? That's what I'm trying to find right now. They play the Cincinnati Bengals. So that, I don't know if that's good or bad. This week says a lot. If Derrick Henry comes out and has 12 carries and doesn't look great in them, and Tyjae Spears is out there a lot more, I think that's when it's like, wow, like is Derrick Henry like have officially fallen off fantasy wise?
yeah.
I have a question quick for both of you. So let's say he goes out 25 carries, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Are you trading him?
Yes.
That's what I think too. I think it depending on who it is,
Yes.
like name a couple guys that you would trade him for if you could in that situation. Like you think would be a better value for the whole year than him.
Are you trading Derrick Henry for Josh Jacobs? Are you confident enough that Josh Jacobs can get back to that point?
I probably would. I'm pretty sure you can look really
Yeah.
quick. Josh Jacobs, like end of season, like playoffs wise, which I like to look at a lot, is I think pretty good. I think the Broncos are like
Derrick
championship
Henry's is
week.
disgusting. It's
does he play
Houston,
Houston a couple times?
Houston, and then someone else, and then Houston again. It's like the 26th ranked defense, the 28th, the 26th.
I probably would trade him for Jacobs only because I think the Raiders' offense is just better.
Right. Yeah, Jacobs takes on just towards the end of the year the Vikings, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Colts, the Broncos. So, and like the Broncos were known for this great defense, but they just gave up 70 points.
So that is week 18. So it really,
Oh, you're right. Yeah, week 18 doesn't matter. Yeah, but starting week 14 with Minnesota there, like that is a really crucial spot. What about like James Cook? Derrick Henry for James Cook.
I would probably keep Henry.
I guess like who you'd rather have. I guess like the package of the trade obviously is going to be different, but
I would probably keep Henry in that case.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other good ones. Like
what about K9?
K9 is just like such a touchdown horde right now, dude. And like he could keep it up, honestly. He does look pretty good. Like that game against the Lions, he didn't have the most efficient game. But like last week, dude, he looked so good.
He gets in the end zone.
He does.
The only thing about K9 though is I think every week Charbonnet's carries and snaps have gone up.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest worry.
Yeah.
I could see that for sure. Yeah, I think if you're a Derrick Henry owner, you obviously still have to start him. Who else are you going to start over him? But after this week, maybe you hit the panic button. But don't trade him right now. Right now is the worst time of all time to trade him. Wait till he has even if he puts up 12 next week. Like
he will have a big game eventually.
Yes, like he's. I guarantee within the next 3 weeks he'll have a 20
I don't even think it'll be this upcoming week. The Bengals just kind of silence Kyron a little bit, so
right.
I think it might even be a struggle the next couple weeks.
It could.
But
it's you're just playing the long game.
Eventually he'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, another bust for me. Joshua Kelly, man, he's made this bust list back-to-back weeks. We even said on this podcast, hey, it was a bad week for Joshua Kelly, but if Eckler doesn't play next week, you're comfortable starting Joshua Kelly this week. At least I said that, playing against the Vikings. No, that was not the case. Joshua Kelly has 2.7 points. If you're an Austin Eckler owner, like, what are you doing right now? Because Eckler, this sprained ankle injury is kind of like lingering a little bit, and he's even still questionable for this week. He's an older running back who also like is trying to get paid. So like, does he really even care that much? What do you do right now if you're an Austin Eckler / Joshua Kelly owner? Can you still start Joshua Kelly?
I don't think you start Joshua Kelly. I think the ship has kind of sailed on that. It's a really potent offense, and he has not been getting his points. As far as the Austin Eckler debate, it's really tough because, like you said, there's been some issues with the money, and he wants to trade or he wants help in the backfield. But one thing that Austin Eckler has always been really good at is fantasy. Like he knows that fantasy is a thing. So I think he had a podcast a week and a half ago, and he was like, I'm trying as hard as I can to get back out there. He's like, I got myself in fantasy. Trust me, guys, I want to be out there. So, in that light, I would like him going forward.
He is like the biggest like fantasy NFL player.
But like you said, lingering ankle issue, it's not worth a panic yet, but 2 more games maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the first thing I wanted to say was, if your record isn't good and you have Eckler, I would seriously consider like trying to make a move, because I don't think he plays this week. They have a bye next week, so you aren't going to see him until week 6.
Oh, they have bye week 5. Yeah, he probably isn't definitely not playing.
So like,
then.
let's say you haven't won yet. You're 0-3. Like seriously, like you might need to make a trade just
to win this
to
week.
get a win or two.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Joshua Kelly.
Yes.
I would never start him ever again in fantasy. No matter what team, I'd never start him.
Okay, Joshua Kelly or Devon Achane.
Devon Achane.
Joshua Kelly or Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert. Seriously,
yeah.
it's a low list. Like I would start Dylan
When he's had 2 points
with
last 2
Aaron
weeks.
Jones.
Yeah.
There, I would start Dylan.
They clearly, like, these last 2 weeks have just been like, we're just not going to run. Like, we are going to throw the ball so much, and that's why Herbert has been doing really well. And that's why maybe if you are Eckler owner, you're still a little bit worried. Like, obviously, Eckler's going to be involved in the receiving game. But, like, the Chargers are putting up numbers still, you know? So, like, I know they just snuck out this win against Minnesota in a game that they should have lost when Brandon Staley goes for it on 4th down at their own 20-yard line. But either way, the offense looks really good. So
Yeah, I think they will get back to the run though.
They probably
just because
will.
they're 1-3.
You kind of have to.
Or
yeah.
1
and 2.
1 and 2.
Right.
Well, it's always the Chargers have always been an offense too that have had really good receivers that are just riddled with injuries all the time, and obviously we just saw Mike Williams go down again. So I think if Eckler comes back, they start to normalize it a little more, get more into the run game, because you can't at this point with Mike Williams being out for the season, you can't overuse Keenan.
Yeah.
If he goes down, that offense gets really scary really quickly.
I think so too. But luckily, you know, obviously Mike Williams going down, at least Keenan Allen is still a top dog, and he's throwing touchdowns too.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He's doing it all.
Okay, another bust that I had on here. Calvin Ridley isn't like the worst stat line. 7 this week. But that's back-to-back weeks that Calvin Ridley has underperformed based on the week 1 that he had. I'm trying to pull up his week 2 stat right now. But what's this Jags offense, man? I am a Trevor Lawrence owner. This can be a Trevor Lawrence like thing too. Is it kind of scary? Like, where do you view Calvin Ridley based on where you viewed him week 1? Yeah, he had 5 points in week 2 and 7 this week after a 24-pointer in week 1, and it's not even like he just hasn't been like he went off for touchdowns in week 1. Like, the yards haven't been there, the receptions haven't been there these last 2 weeks, and Christian Kirk has kind of returned to what he was last year these last 2 weeks as well. So Calvin Ridley, panic button, flex option, wide receiver 2, bench. What are we thinking?
I think after week 1, he was like solidified top 10 wide receiver rest of the season.
That's what I totally thought.
And I think now I would say he's solidified like bottom of the top 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Like guys that I would compare him to, like honestly, like Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Because like Mike Evans is gonna have some bad games this year. Like Godwin too. Like kind of just that category.
I do think
because
T. Higgins
You
is in
have to
that.
have it. Yeah, maybe. If Burrow's healthy, it's different.
Right.
But just those guys that are just maybe just certain game scripts, they're just not going to get the targets. And maybe Ridley will never get over 10 targets. Or like how many? I don't know how many he had week 1. Probably a lot.
He had 11 targets. He had 8 and 7 these last 2 weeks, but only 2 receptions week 2, 3 in week 3.
But when you look for that like star, like top 5, top 10 receiver, like those guys have 15 target potential.
Yeah,
like,
every
in
week.
good matchups too. I don't really know a team that they're gonna play, and it's gonna be like just throw the ball to Ridley 16 times.
Right.
Yeah, I think he just goes, like you said, week 1 he came out, viewed him as like a clear cut, like this guy can be a wide receiver 1. I think you just downgrade him. He's a mid-level wide receiver 2 right now. You're flexing him for sure, I would say, just because he has that potential. But we talked about this a little bit last week. I think that offense right now is just feed the hot hand.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really tough for any owners outside of, I would say, Evan Ingram, because he's been a pretty consistent.
He has, you're
finding
right.
the end zone,
And I
but
traded
he's a pretty consistent like check down guy. But as far as the receivers go, I think it's a hot hand situation.
The whole team's a headache.
Yeah, and I
The
think
whole
you have to
team's
be
ahead.
worried because Zay Jones hasn't played the last 2 weeks, and Calvin Ridley has underperformed those 2 weeks. So,
Exactly.
like, I'm looking at Christian Kirk's numbers. Like, obviously, he had a really bad week 1.9 points, but he's followed it up with 22 and 15 these last 2 weeks without Zay Jones on the field. So you're thinking, where's Calvin Ridley? I think it's safe to say that in this Jags offense, it just can't support 4 starting receivers, because I remember we had the conversation with Zay Jones, like, is Zay Jones startable? So with Ridley, Kirk, Zay, and Evan Ingram, this offense is not explosive enough to support 4 starters right now. I think on any given week, 2 out of those 4 are going to have very poor weeks, and that's shown so far through the first 3 weeks. So I don't think you panic if you're a Ridley. Like, I think Ridley will. Like, he's going to have better games, and Lawrence will play better. They've been really bad in the red zone. Like, they will, like, the amount of not even drop touchdowns, but just, like, balls that get touched by receivers, pause, in the end zone has been, like, a lot so far that haven't been touchdowns. So,
and you might be able to confirm this, but I think ETN was heavily involved in the passing game last week.
Yeah, I can pull it up really quickly. Yeah, ETN definitely is, and that's another guy in that offense too. That it's like, can he be? And even like Tanks Bigsby, like, he had a solid game last week. How much points did ETN put up last week?
I think
he had a
Put up
good
17.
Yeah, the thing why he's a headache though is Tank Bigsby came in and I think he might have only had 3 carries and he featured the touchdown.
The goal line, yeah.
Like, dude, that takes away so much from ETN if he's just not getting goal line work. Like, he's gonna have these, like, what are the targets for ETN?
It doesn't show me his targets, but he just had 4 receptions for 50 yards.
So it's at least 6 targets, I would say. So that's his ceiling. I think this week was probably his ceiling. Like, obviously he's gonna score touchdowns, but it's just scary. Like, some of the rankings I've seen, like Fantasy Pros, like, and like ESPN too, they have him like top 5. I don't see,
like, ETN top 5.
Yeah, like, I like ETN. I just don't understand how he can be that good on that team with all those receiving options if he's not getting the goal line.
Yeah. I think that's definitely fair.
I agree.
Do you guys have any other, like, major busts from week 3? Like, I have a few other ones, but they're not that, like, crazy.
I've got one.
Yeah, who you got?
AJ Dillon.
That's a good one.
3.3 without Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
And that's the second week he's underperformed, being arguably the number 1 back there. And I don't have much more to comment. It's just like,
right. Like, he's not startable
that's
anymore.
another dude that you.
Yeah, it's
Aaron
Joshua
Jones
Kelly
goes down.
2.0.
You're saying that's a start. That's a smash.
And
It's just the only reason I like Dylan a little more than like Joshua Kelly is because we've seen it before from Dylan.
True. Yeah, and Aaron Jones is not going to play again this week against the Lions on Thursday night. So
Is he not?
Or I guess no. I think he is
he's
questionable.
questionable.
You're right. He is questionable.
I think him, Christian Watson, and
Montgomery
all did not.
Yes.
play.
I forget.
I have a feeling Aaron Jones plays.
They
this
had 3 O linemen that were ruled out. That's what it was. I was thinking.
But I
Aaron
know
Jones could play.
All 3 of them didn't practice today.
Yeah.
So.
week. Aaron Jones, I think, practiced.
Let's look at. Let's find out live on the podcast.
Let's get some hard set evidence.
Christian Watson has yet to play this year too. So the Packers just having major injuries so far.
Surprisingly, though, on the other end of that, Jordan Love looks really, really good.
He does. He's like a top fantasy quarterback right now too.
So this offense is kind of throwing you for a loop. AJ Dillon not performing, with Jordan Love actually kind of holding his weight.
It like isn't telling me if he practiced it or not. Usually it does.
Well, I think what happened was when they have like the Thursday games, they don't practice on Mondays, right?
Right.
Or is it something like that?
No, they practice Monday. They practice every day in the week on Thursdays. They might not do practice today, honestly.
I don't know.
He was limited in practice Monday and Tuesday, so he probably did practice. I don't know if they practice on Wednesdays since the game is on Thursday. But
Yeah.
Moral of that though is if Jones is out, don't start Dylan. I think.
oh yeah, I
would
think so
agree.
too.
Yeah.
Especially because it's Thursday night. It's such a commitment.
And
To
it's
have
the
to do that.
Lions.
The Lions have, I think, still the number 1 run defense. in the
Probably,
league.
dude. And like, I even like I mentioned that. And I still was like, but it's Bijan, and it's the Falcons, and they're going to do it. And they just didn't, dude. And, like, the Lions' run defense has been so good over the last X amount of games, going back to last year. It's really, like, they're not even fantasy football related. Like, it's nice to know that. Like, I'm not going to start a running back against the Lions.
Side note though, now that we say that, Dylan probably scores 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I talked to Steve-O today. Those of you who don't know, Steve is our boss, and he might be the biggest
World's
Lions
biggest
fan.
Lions fan.
We were talking about Deion Branch and how he came out and took that penalty. Did you see the interview?
Oh,
after
Brian
that?
Branch?
Or Brian
Yeah,
Branch,
yeah.
Came out and took that penalty and what he said about
Yeah,
it.
he was like, I didn't even care. At least he knows I can hit him. Like,
Exactly. Like, that's That's pretty
Dude,
scary.
Brian Branch is a
coming
freaking dog.
Coming from a defense, it's like, yeah, we'll take penalties as long as you know what's about to go down.
And he's got that mouthpiece hanging out of his
Yeah,
helmet, and it looks
always.
freaking dope. Okay, the only other bust that I had, like T. Higgins bust, and I think you do hit the worry button with T. Higgins because of Joe Burrow's inability to throw down fields in that game. But who knows if he'll just if it's just a 1 week thing. They're trying to get the ball out of his hands quick so he doesn't take sacks and everything. T. Higgins still had like 8 targets. He just also dropped a couple passes, so it's not that big of a deal. And then Kyron Williams was like kind of a bust strictly because of his crazy high projection. Isn't he projected 18 again this week?
Yeah.
Crazy, man. All right. Do we want to talk about waivers or injuries? What do you guys choose?
I haven't can pick. I think I chose last week.
Oh, let's do injuries quick.
All right, injuries. There's not that many, but the first one kind of feeds into waivers. Mike Williams placed on IR. Was torn ACL or something? I can't remember.
I think it's ACL.
Obviously something significant. Very unfortunate because he just had his biggest week of the season. What does this mean? What does this mean for Keenan Allen, for Herbert, for Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston? What are we thinking?
I don't think it helps or hurts Keenan, really. It's a little scarier. Just hopefully he doesn't get, like, hurt.
Yeah.
Like, just be the focal point of the offense.
Uh-huh.
It might hurt him a little, honestly, because you can guard them way different. But I think Joshua Kelly is the guy to pick up if you need somebody to start. And I think Quinn is – I would rather have Quinn for a stash.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it hurts Keenan at all. He's going to get his. But as far as Josh Palmer versus Quentin Johnston, I think, came into that game and still did not do great after Mike Williams went out. So I think this is probably a full smash on Josh Palmer for now. Stash Quentin Johnston. See how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think, Palmer was he was consistent last year, with Keenan and Mike Williams having injuries. Like, he was startable for several weeks of last year. So I think that you are safe picking up Palmer, and even if you need a flex start this week, like desperate flex start, I think you're fine doing that. But I did stash Quentin Johnston. I think, they took him in the first round. Mike Williams is their deep threat. That's what Quentin Johnston was the number one deep threat, go up and get it guy in this wide receiver class. Definitely hasn't performed like the other receivers so far, but I think that they have to utilize him in this offense.
Yeah.
So
I think that could be a thing where as the season plays out, you kind of see that role flip.
Yeah.
A couple teams we've seen do this before, like when you hit your bye, they kind of switch how they want to run things. So maybe once they get to their bye, Quentin Johnston becomes a full go, and Josh Palmer kind of takes the back seat.
I think it could even be by this next week.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things. Like this was an injury in the game. We're only basing this off of what happened after the injury.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to go to Palmer in that situation just because he knows everything. He knows the offense better.
He's been there. Yeah.
So maybe after a week of practice, you'll start to see it.
Definitely.
I think this week you will see it a little bit. I don't think it's gonna be anything special or crazy, but you'll see him out there more because it's just been snaps.
Yeah, that's true. So, and he just hasn't played that much. Yeah. So maybe once they have a week of, okay, now we know we don't have Mike Williams, let's try and incorporate Quentin a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't an injury thing, but this is a good this is an injury. I don't know, actually, why did I write this under injuries? Alvin Kamara is back, not from an injury, just from suspension. So I would ask, what does this mean for the Saints? But, Jamal Williams got injured and put on IR, which is very unfortunate because, last week would have been a primal opportunity for him. Kendre Miller played his first game, didn't do crazy. Tony Jones Jr. was back there. So, this doesn't really affect anyone. You start in Kamara this week, though.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Derek Carr is hurt.
Oh, I forgot about Derek Carr. I didn't even write that down.
So this
Jameis,
is tough
baby.
because Jameis and Kamara historically don't play well together. Not don't play well.
Right.
Kamara is not a great fantasy option when Jameis is under the helm. It's just something about his play style.
Yeah.
His first game back, maybe he could go off, but I'm just not seeing it. I think it's going to be a pretty slow start for Kamara until Derek Carr gets back under center there.
I could see it.
I think Kamara could be the guy that evens out the running back room. I think he could come in and just whoever had him, it's the assurance you needed, and because it's just the running back room is so shaky.
It's so weird.
And him coming in, if he comes in and he's just consistent top 10 RB, which I think he will be. I think it'd be cool to see.
Just helps
and
level
I
it
really
out.
do see it happening. I mean, with the injuries that they've already had, he's going to be a workhorse.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a workhorse.
And I think that's a big part because, like, the last several years, they've had, like, another guy that they've also... And Jamal was going to be that guy, and he's on IR, and he should be back within a couple weeks. And also, Alvin Kamara, he's not come back from injury. Like, he should be able... I don't think he's been able to practice, but there's no reason why he can't just step in and just get... I mean, Kamara's not a guy that gets 20 carries, but, get 8 targets out of the backfield plus 15 carries.
Right.
Like, there's no reason why he can't do that, especially with Derek Carr being out. Jameis Winston definitely is familiar in this offense, so he's not an inexperienced backup or anything. But yeah, like you said, Kamara's historically not been great with Jameis Winston. He's been better, with Breeze or when Trevor Siemian was their quarterback and guys like that. So we'll see with Kamara this week. I think you start Kamara this week, though, because if you have Kamara, that means you probably don't have great running backs in the first place. So I think you start him.
He's a start. I don't think you can expect the typical Kamara 6 receptions, 18 plus point. I think he'll get you 13, 14.
Yeah.
Upper edge of 16 maybe.
He's got a 14.1 projection.
The only thing is, though, is if he will get the goal line.
He will. Well, they might give it to Tony Jones, dude. He got 2 of them things against Carolina.
I think he gets it.
I think he does, too.
Taysom Hill.
I don't know.
Taysom Hill.
Dude.
It's just one of those things, like, what is the floor with a guy that's getting 12 carries, let's say 6, 7 targets a game, and a goal line?
Yeah.
On a Saints team that defensively, they're going to make stops.
Yeah.
He's going to be
They're gonna
out
have
there.
the ball.
It's not going to be what we saw, like, in that Rams-Bengals game. Like, the Rams couldn't stay on the field. They couldn't get on the field at times. They're going to be on, like, the Saints are going to be on the field. They've proven it. Derek Carr's been carrying Michael Thomas, Olave. Olave doesn't have a touchdown yet. I don't know if Michael Thomas has one.
I don't
maybe
think he does.
And they are both been fantasy relevant. They're going to be good.
Even Rashid Shaheed is like a guy that's added at least, so.
Like, I just think that team is one of those teams that they're just going to have so many offensive snaps.
Yeah, no touchdowns yet for Michael Thomas either, so it's going to be interesting. Okay, this is one geared towards you, Ivan. Tomorrow night, obviously, Lions-Packers play. David Montgomery is questionable. If he plays, Jahmyr Gibbs, what are we thinking? Because I know Jahmyr Gibbs didn't have the greatest game fantasy-wise last week, but I think it was very encouraging for Jahmyr Gibbs owners because I predicted this. I thought that Craig Reynolds and Zonovan Knight were going to have more carries combined than Jahmyr Gibbs, and that was not the case at all. I think they had like 4 or 5 carries together. Jahmyr Gibbs had 18 carries for 80 yards, which is pretty efficient. Just wasn't really in the receiving game too much. I think he only had like 1 or 2 receptions. So what do you think about week 4 if Montgomery plays, if he doesn't play? Like, where are we at with Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think it's you start him either way. I really do. That Lions-Falcons game, for Jahmyr Gibbs, everything went wrong.
Right.
The Lions went up, and they just won the game, like, from the start, in my opinion, and couldn't run the ball up the middle, and that was all they were doing with it.
Yeah.
So the fact that he got 80 yards is honestly a shock to me. Like,
It was a lot of them came at the end.
It was one
of the
big
game,
run,
yeah.
wasn't it?
I think he had a few. Yeah, he had like a 25-yard run. A lot of it came towards in the second half.
But yeah, like the week 2, how they used him, that's their plan. That's like they came week 1 playing the Chiefs. We talked about it. They didn't want to throw him out there and give him a ton of work. Week 2, I think, was the Gibbs that we should get used to, and I think that
7
was his
receptions.
best week,
Yeah,
wasn't
I believe so. I can double check, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So yeah, I think that if Montgomery comes back, I still think he's going to be somewhat limited. So I think because it's a thigh injury, it's not something to be, it's not like some dumb injury, like it's an important injury. Yeah, 12.6 was Jahmyr Gibbs' best week in week 2, where he had 7 receptions. And I think that, last week also, like, Sam Laporta was targeted a crap ton. They really Gibbs wasn't, like, lining up in the slot. He wasn't coming out of the backfield as a receiver much because they needed him as a running back because it was clear that they weren't very confident in Craig Reynolds and Zonovan Knight. So I think you still start Jahmyr Gibbs. And like you said, if you're a Lions fan, you got to start him because if he has the week, we all know the week is coming. Mm-hmm. The 28-point, 2 touchdown, 100 yards.
Run defense isn't good.
Yeah, exactly. In Lambeau, ready to make a statement. Lions favored in Lambeau Field. That's got to be a first time that's ever happened in my whole lifetime, which is cool. Yeah, I think you still start Jahmyr Gibbs, though.
Yeah.
You start him over Montgomery if they both go.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can really trust Montgomery this week. Like if you have to start him, I think you're fine doing it. But if I had to start one or the other, I'm starting Gibbs for sure. Okay, is there any other injuries that I'm missing? I don't think there's any like huge major ones that I'm missing.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, is he like out?
I think he has a concussion.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, because he did leave the game. Yeah.
So we were just talking about this. This is
Aiden O'Connell, dude. Like,
Yeah.
he was the star of the preseason out of Purdue. He torched MSU last year.
So this is tricky because not only is Jimmy G out now with a concussion for this week at least, Devontae Adams did not have very kind words to say about the Raiders last week.
I did see that.
So he came out and he said that, you know, what they did all last season was talk about what they got to do to get to a next level, where they got to be, how they got to do it. And he said this year, we're still just talking about it instead of just doing it. So I've seen a lot of things about, you know, he's unhappy if Jimmy G goes down. What is that situation going to shake out as? Is he going to request a trade, get traded?
Dude, it'd be pretty crazy. Like, a guy like his, you don't really see like starred players like him get traded during the season.
No.
Obviously, like McCaffrey is kind of an outlier to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would be better or worse for him because he's still going to put up massive numbers in this offense, like whether or not they're good or not.
Well, and we saw that last week too against the Steelers. It was like he's just open. Wherever he's at, he's open. He's going to catch the ball. But he's obviously not happy with everyone else's performance there. He just wants people to step up and take it to another level instead of just talking about it like they have been.
Yeah.
So, a little concerning there as a Devontae Adams
I think it is
owner.
too. Yeah.
Agree.
All right. Let's move on to waivers. There's not like nothing crazy this week. We kind of already talked about Devon Achane. Obviously, you probably pick him up. I mean, he had 50 freaking points. We talked about Josh Palmer, only owned in 30.9% of leagues. Do you guys have any other like sleeper waiver pickups for this week?
I've got 3 dudes. Tank Dell and Adam Thielen, I think, are the same. We talked about it last week.
Right.
As like borderline, keep your eye on them.
And both went off.
Both are full blown. You gotta add them. You gotta stash them now. And then Tajay Spears, for me personally, Derrick Henry owner, you have to pick him up.
Yeah.
Because if Henry goes down or something weird shakes out there and Tajay Spears becomes the lead back for some weird reason, you have to have him.
Yeah, I think so too. My big one is a guy that I added in our league. I picked up Marvin Mims from the Denver Broncos. Marvin Mims doesn't have like the craziest stats ever, but I saw an interesting stat, and it was most total yards from the Broncos on one play. The top 10 like one play biggest yards this season. Marvin Mims only has, let's count it up, he has 7 receptions on the year. But he had, out of the top 10, he had like 6 out of the top 10 were him, and it was like all the top 6. Like I said, he only has gotten 7 receptions on the year, but he's put up a 20-point game. Last week, he returned a punt for a touchdown, so he had 16.5. Russ, I think one thing that Russ has still shown, out of the many things that he does not still have, he can still throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
Marvin Mims just hasn't been out on the field. Like, that's the problem. They got to start playing him more. I know Jerry Jeudy is come back, but it's clear that Marvin Mims is an absolute playmaker. So, like, in week 2, he had 2 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown. That guy needs to play more. So, he's not like a start or anything, but I picked him up as like, okay, maybe this week they finally realize, like, we got to start playing this guy more.
Sean Payton came out and said that he was limited the first couple weeks. I don't know why.
And Russell Wilson, today, they asked him if Marvin Mims has a ceiling, and he said he has no ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay, then why does he not play?
Russ is Mr. Unlimited, and it sounds like Marvin Mims Jr. is Mr. Unlimited 2.0.
It sounds like he is. Do you have any other waiver ads for this week?
Yeah, I think my 2 biggest are Thielen and Tank Dell.
Yeah.
They're the only 2 guys that I think it's like really worth using your waiver pick. And I don't know, like the fab you would spend on it. You should probably hit on that. Really
Yeah, that's a good point. I dropped $20 on Joshua Palmer, and it did not hit. Someone dropped $50 on Palmer in our Devi League. I think it was
this guy.
It was you?
Yeah.
God, that was crazy, dude.
The thing is
there
like,
was 5 people that bid on him, and it was all like I was like the 3rd highest bidder.
Yeah, I think I definitely went over with 50. I think the next was like 32.
Yeah,
but like I had $100 in FOB, and I just don't pay attention to that much.
And also, like, that league is kind of different because there's 3 flex spots in that league. It's 12 dudes, super flex. So like your 3rd flex is like a sketchy start where like Palmer comes in and is like a solid like 3rd flex option. For Thielen, I think you spend more on Thielen. Thielen is like a target monster right now, whether he's done it with Bryce Young and with Andy Dalton. I think you're honestly more confident if Andy Dalton is starting because it's the vet connection. You know, they're going to try to find each other. I think you spend like $25, $30 on Adam Thielen in a deeper league. But don't go crazy because a crazy injury is going to happen again, like a Jerome Ford last week. Where you drop $70 on Jerome Ford. Like that is going to happen. It sucks, but it just is. So
my biggest thing with Thielen is, like, I feel like everybody just thinks that Michael Pittman, what he's doing is just normal and he should be doing it. And I don't see a separation from those kind of guys like Pittman, Thielen. Like Thielen wasn't great last year, but Jets also had the best, like a great year. And they got Hawk. KJ Osborne had some really big games.
Yeah.
Like Thielen, I know you guys.
I hate Thielen.
I know you hate Thielen.
Yeah.
But, like Thielen is good.
No,
he's
he
one
is.
of those guys that he just will be open. And Bryce Young hasn't looked great.
No.
Probably the guy that looks open is the guy that's gonna get the ball thrown to him.
Yeah.
So I just think Thielen's a really, really good like flex play. I think he's just I don't see him having like less than like 7 or 8 points any week.
No, I think he has a very, very high floor, and he's established himself as we kind of talked about this a lot this offseason. Like everyone kind of thought like Jonathan Mingo was going to be the guy that establishes himself, which he still could. But there was a lot of question marks there, and Adam Thielen clearly has been the guy right now that is playable in that offense. All right, before we get into Boomer Bust, I have a pop quiz for you guys. Pop quiz, how much have you been paying attention to the fantasy rankings? Like I said, we have not settled into fantasy, and these rankings clearly state that. So I want you guys to guess for me the top 5 at each position in PPR, ESPN, fantasy football, starting with quarterback. Just start naming them off.
Herbert.
Number 1.
Jordan Love.
Number 4.
Mahomes.
Number 5.
We get all these.
Yeah, we got.
Can you get them without missing though?
Yeah. Okay, what did we just do?
You have Herbert
Love,
1,
Mahomes.
Love 4, Mahomes 5. Missing
All right,
2 and 3.
Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is not in the top 5.
That's actually a shock.
I think he's 6, almost positive.
Um,
I'll check out on here.
Wait, did we say Kirk? Kirk's up there.
Kirk is number 2. Kirky-o.
So we're missing one.
Missing just number 3.
It's not Allen, is it?
I don't
Nope.
think so.
Oh my God, I just dropped Marvin Mims in our league.
Did you really?
I just dropped him.
Wow, let me go scoop him up.
Oh my God,
You can
dude.
add him right now.
Isn't he? He's I have to claim him, right?
Waivers on
depends.
Friday.
I definitely have to claim him.
No,
I'll
it
figure it out.
depends.
I'll figure it out after this. Keep going though.
We're missing one.
Why did I just?
And
do
it's
that?
not. This isn't to you, just so you know.
Okay, I added him. back.
Yeah, our league is weird like that. If you add somebody the same day, and you drop them, you can add them back.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's not Russ, is it?
No. It's not Russ. It's pretty obvious. Their team just had a crazy game.
Oh, Tua.
Yes. Tua is the number 3 quarterback, so that's a top 5. Checking out like the other guys. Lamar was number 6, Hurts was number 7, Russ is number 8. So it's
Where's
pretty close
Josh
to those.
Allen?
Allen is number 10.
Okay.
All right, running backs, top 5.
McCaffrey.
Number 2.
Mostert.
Number 1.
A-Chain's in the top 5.
He's number 6. Isn't that
Dude, I
is it-
saw today he was in the top 5.
Isn't that crazy that
that's tough.
he's number 6 though,
That is
off of
crazy.
basically one game?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
It not basically, it is off of one game. So missing 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. So Mostert, McCaffrey.
A couple of these guys are like expected. One of them totally not.
Is Bijan still Bijan?
I think he was number 7. I think he was right
Yeah.
behind Achan. Pretty sure. He is. number 7.
Kyron's close. He was 2, and then he
Yeah.
had I think Kyron's in it.
Kyron's number 5.
Okay.
So what numbers are we missing?
You're missing 3 and 4. These are the 2 most like established guys in the list, other than McCaffrey.
Pollard.
Pollard's number 4. Not like first round picks, but
Yeah.
in the
And K9.
K9 is
Yeah.
number 3. Yes, those are the top 5. The guys that just missed it, like Bijan's number 7, Brian Robinson number 8, Connor number 9, ETN number 10. Wide receivers top 5. Give them to me.
You
Keenan.
can say your boy.
Yeah, these should be pretty simple. Keenan's number 1.
Jets.
Jets number 3.
Devontae.
Devontae number 4. Tyreek number 2. Missing number 5.
I don't know on 5. It could be Puka.
Puka, I think, is number 6. Let me check. Yeah, Puka's number 6.
So sorry, run through who we have.
Keenan, Tyreek, Jets, Devontae.
Diggs.
Diggs is number 8.
Damn it.
Or no, he's number 7. He's number 7 right behind Puka. Which I wish he was top 5. It's tough. These are like the wide receiver ones are the most consistent though. Like these are expected guys that were supposed to be good.
This isn't to you. This is me
Right.
talking to my partner over here. What did Mike Evans end up with last week?
It's Mike Evans.
Yeah.
I'll just give it to you. Yeah. Mike Evans, number 5. Last position ranking, tight end. Give me the top. And Adam Thielen, by the way, is number 9 wide receiver on waivers
crazy.
in most leagues. Top 5 tight ends.
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry's number 3.
Laporta.
Laporta's number 2.
Kelsey.
Travis Kelce's number 5 after missing week 1. He's already top 5.
Hawk.
Hawk is number 1. Just missing number 4. Pretty
It's
simple.
Mark Andrews.
It is not Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is number 11.
he missed a
He
week
missed week
two.
1, yeah. So he's just not like Kelsey. He's just not built like that.
Above Kelsey. I guess Kelsey.
Above
did
Kelsey, number
miss a
4.
week.
It could be Evan Ingram.
That's what I'm
It
thinking.
is Evan Ingram, and I traded him to Seth for
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert, who is tight end 27 right
Better
now.
days are ahead.
God, that
I
is
did not know it was that
crazy,
bad.
dude. Yeah.
It's like having Kelsey is so nice because I don't even think about tight end.
The tight ends suck. I hate tight end.
I just having any other tight end other than like Hawkinson,
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, and Kelsey, just because you're never not going to start those
And
guys.
Evan Ingram.
And before we get into Boomer Bust, we need to talk about Zach Wilson and the New York Jets really quickly. Trevor Siemian was brought into the Jets practice squad. Don't know if he's going to like be their guy now or anything. I have a real question, and this isn't even just to you guys. This is just to put out there. Is Zach Wilson even a top 64 quarterback in the NFL? Is he better than all the starters and all the backups? Because there's like a real thing where he's not. Like legitimately.
I think he's not. He's better than some backups, but there are a lot of backups that are better than him.
Like, just think about, like we've talked about this several times. Like, Mike White is so much better than Zach Wilson. It's actually crazy. And Mike White probably isn't even a top 5 backup in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, Teddy Bridgewater is levels above Zach Wilson.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Teddy B, 100% start. So, my question to you, because you have a little more football knowledge, but like, Tampa Bay, who's their backup quarterback?
It's the dude from Florida. It's the dude that fought with Kyle Trask.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of like the QBs that are or the
Already
teams
teams
that
that
have
bad
rough
QBs.
QBs and then a backup. He might.
Okay,
slide
I'm
in
taking
there
Zach
a little
Wilson over
bit.
Kyle Trask probably. But, like, Atlanta with Desmond Ritter, who, like, Desmond Ritter looks bad.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke's their backup. If you're the Jets and you have Taylor Heineke, you are ecstatic over Zach Wilson, you know?
I mean, Taylor Heineke's probably better than Ritter.
He probably is. You're probably right. Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like it's just it's crazy to me that the Jets have not been more aggressive.
Yeah.
Because their defense is good. I understand that you don't want to pay the price because Rodgers is going to be back next year. But like you got to do something, man.
Yeah.
And the Vikings, like, are they going to trade Kirk Cousins? Because he's in the final year of his contract. And, like, you're just going to lose him in free agency. He's playing elite ball. You could get some hella picks from the Jets for him, probably.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
I
nice.
do not see that happening.
No, he wouldn't get traded to the Jets. But,
Was
like,
that like a joke that like
that he would get
the
traded to
alert?
the Jets?
Yeah, that they're like interested in trading for him or something.
I think that was a joke, yeah. But the Vikings should, I don't know, though, because you can't trade Kirk because you have Jets. You need to keep Jets happy.
I think Kirk will resign.
But, like, you're 0-3. And what if you're 0-4? Who knows?
Yeah, but look at the Vikings schedule, dude. I was looking at
Is
it.
it easy?
They're gonna come out of like the first like 15 weeks, or first 13 weeks, 7-6. I'm calling it right now. I don't want it to
Really?
happen, dude. Look at their schedule.
Let's take a look at it.
They got 5 wins
We
in a
have
row.
we have 2 0-3 battles this week, by the way, with Bears, Broncos, and Vikings, Panthers. Those are the only 4 0-3 teams. Panthers, Chiefs,
They
Bears.
legit could be like they're gonna lose those probably.
Yeah. 49ers, Green Bay, Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders, Bengals, Lions, Packers, Lions. It definitely like is not crazy hard.
The Lions,
Yeah.
Packers, Lions
I know.
is gonna be really.
that's a
interesting.
tough. Which like the NFL thought they were so slick putting Lions, Vikings at the end of the year. Both of those games, like
Yeah.
these are going to be like division games. No, they're not, dude. The Vikings suck. Like we're going to be clinching the division in that game. All right, let's get into Boomer Bust for week 4. Like I said last week, the rankings are tight. Ivan leads with 3, Seth with 2, me with 1. It's time for one of us to go crazy and nail all of these. Seth,
And
why don't you kick it
I
off?
might as well start it off. I'm going with a boom first. I'm going crazy call here. Colin Kaepernick is gonna sign with the. No, I'm playing. I'm gonna go with a bust.
Okay.
A bust that really, really hurts my heart. Derrick Henry.
Oh.
Projected 16.8 against the Bengals, who have a pretty solid front. He's gonna bust, man.
That sucks. You have him in fantasy, man. That's
Yeah,
just
so
like,
I'm really hedging my bets.
and
here.
yeah, you've done. I mean, it's a safe play though, you know, because if he booms, you're like, yeah, it sucks that I lost this, but like he went off, you know. So yeah, that's tough. I could see it though. 16.8 is a high projection coming off of the week that he just had. Ivan, give us your first boom and or bust.
I can't find the front.
I think you're right back this way, right there.
I'll just throw it out. This is the first time we've done it, so let's just do it. Henry bust. I got it too.
Okay, I like that.
We'll ride together.
No, I think, and that's totally like that is allowed to have the same bus. I think that is totally fair. All right, for me, I'm gonna go with. I have 4 busts written down, dude. I'm so confident in all of these, but I have to only pick 2. Okay, I'm gonna get my meme bust out of the way, and I'm not picking it. I'm just like telling you guys. Mike Evans bust this week at 14.1. Want to know why? He's playing the Saints. He will be ejected before he's able to get 9 points.
I picked up the Saints defense just because of that.
He will punch Marshawn Lattimore in the second quarter, and
He's gonna get tossed.
he will get tossed and will bust. But I feel like that's a cheap route to take, so I'm not doing it.
So what happens if he catches a bomb first drive, scores a touchdown, punches him in the face, and then gets tossed?
Then he didn't bust, but he like basically did. I'm gonna go with a boom here first. Nico Collins boom this week. He had a disappointing week 3, but weeks 1 and 2, especially week 2, he went crazy. He's only projected 12.2 against Pittsburgh. We've seen what some wide receiver ones have done against Pittsburgh the last couple weeks. Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper in week 2 had a pretty solid game. I think that C.J. Stroud looks pretty good, and Tank Dell, was he dominated the game last week. I think he goes back to Nico Collins this week. 12.2, I think that's a pretty reasonable boom for him. Who would like to go next?
I'll go back to. I'm gonna pick a boom here, and I've got Cortland Sutton, projected 13.8 against the Bears.
I like that. Bears suck, dude.
The Bears are terrible.
He has yet to have like a huge game this year, or at least
he had like a mid game last week.
So maybe this could be the game where he goes off high teens, maybe 20s. Ivan,
my first boom is Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
I think he has a get-right game against the Chargers. I think they're going to lean on him with Jimmy G's injury. Yeah.
what's his projection?
Oh.
Just so I can write it down in case it changes.
15.7.
I wrote Josh Jacobs down. I didn't end up picking him, but I definitely like the Josh Jacobs boom pick. I think he just has to one of these weeks, and maybe in a high-scoring game, this could potentially be. This has to be the game they do it. Okay. I'm going to go with my first bust here. Sorry, Ivan. Zach Moss bust this week. Anthony Richardson should be back this week. Moss has gone off the last 2 weeks. I just feel like it's one of them weeks where he's not going to get a touchdown. Richardson's going to steal him. 14.3 projection. He could still have an efficient run game. Maybe he's not involved in the pass game as much because he really wasn't until Gardner Minshew came in. So at 14.3, against a Rams defense who has been pretty solid against the running back so far this year, I'm going to go with a bust for Zach Moss. Seth, give us a boom or bust.
All right. I've got a boom here.
Okay.
And Ivan's going to be a pretty big fan. Wow. I think this is the week for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wow.
Projected 12.5 going up against Green Bay. We know that means a lot. I think he's going to go crazy.
I picked it in week 2. It did not hit. So I'm really hoping that this one hits. I would be so ecstatic. Because it's just he hasn't scored a touchdown yet.
Exactly.
Like, think about any of them games he had plus a touchdown.
Right.
Like, they look so much better. So, and he's going to get in the end zone. I like that pick. Ivan, boom or bust here?
I'm also going to throw in, I'm not hurt by the Zach Moss thing. I'm probably going to start Gibbs this week over him.
Right.
I just put Zach Moss in there because he has a higher projection. That makes me feel better.
That's fair.
My second bust, I got Madison. Projected 15.2.
High projection.
Yeah, I think it's just way too sweet of a projection to not pick to bust. So, yeah.
When the rankings initially came out, or the projections initially came out, he had a 16.5 projection, and then overnight it flipped to 15.2. Yeah, like I'm trying to trade Madison right now because he had a good week last week. Like I've been trying to trade him all week, and no one's fallen for my bait, which sucks. Okay, I'm gonna get my other boom out of the way here. I have yet to do this, so I'm putting my chips in here. Going with the QB boom, Josh Allen boom this week against the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins is going to put up points. I think this is going to be such a high-scoring game. Allen, in a big game like this, Josh Allen's weird, dude, because, like, he's either going to, like, make some insane-o plays and win the game for you, or he's going to make insane-o plays in a bad way and throw 4 interceptions and lose the game for you. But he hasn't really done the first one yet. He hasn't really done the huge game where he wins the game, has a big-time game. 20.9 projection. I think that he can get me 26 this week with a rushing touchdown and 300-some passing yards in a hopefully high-scoring matchup against the Dolphins.
All right, and then I'll use my last one here. I have a bust left, correct?
Yes.
A little opposite of your pick. I'm going to go George Pickens, bust, projected 14.2 against a Houston D that was just really solid.
Yeah. That sucks for George Pickens, man. 14.2 is it's a decent projection, nothing crazy, but I like the picks this week, man. We're not really taking like the top dogs. I kind of like it. I like what we got going on here. Ivan, who is your last boom for the week?
My last boom for the week is Jalen Waddle.
Okay, he's back.
He's back, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Yep. I think this is one of those, I think it's like the Vikings-Chargers game. I think you start everybody.
Yeah, I think so, too. What's his projection at?
14.7.
Ooh, that's pretty reasonable. Like, I think he could get a 20-piece this week. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a 30-30 type game for sure. Really excited for it. Okay, my last bust pick. I have to choose between, 4 or 5 dudes here. I did have Kamara, boom, I was thinking about it. Okay. I'm going to go with a guy that hit on a bust pick earlier this year. Travis Etienne bust this week against the Atlanta Falcons. 17.5 projection. We talked about it last week. We talked about the game that Atlanta played last week. They're really good against the run, at least in the inside. So Etienne's going to have to get pass game work, and we've already talked about this too. You can't trust who the pass game's going to go to. Tank Bigsby could take away a touchdown here. Who knows who Lawrence is going to be throwing to. I'm going to go with Etienne bust here at 17.5. Seems a bit high. Rashad White was my other bust guy, by the way, in case you guys were wondering. But he's only at a 12.9 projection, so
I like the Etienne pick.
Yeah.
Because I think the Jags are going to blow him out.
They could.
And then Etienne's just not going to probably
And he's just going to get 11.
He's just seriously not going to play.
Yeah, they'll just give Bigsby the ball.
Yeah. First time this year.
That could definitely happen. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to the Week 3 recap and Week 4 predictions. Lions play when you're listening to this tonight. You'll be listening this Thursday. They play Thursday Night Football, so go watch them. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me, and we will see you next week. Peace.